Phillies on top.
But this club just does not die.
He's under it. He's got it. And the game is over.
Hoskins
swung on, did it cross, and the Phillies are going to lead it 4-0. Just a towering fly ball to straightaway left. Schwarber was ready. Bryce Harper has put the Phillies on top.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Phrankly Phillies. I'm your host, Adam Mack. I know we always come live every Tuesday night. Unfortunately, stomach bug got the best of me last night, so we're going to come to you Wednesday afternoon, just a little pregame show right before the Phillies 2 o'clock start against the Chicago White Sox as they try to wrap up that series in Chicago. But let's get into it. Not going to be a super long show today. Obviously, we got the Phillies in a little short while, and it's also most people are working. I couldn't relate to that at the moment, but let's talk a little bit of Phillies. If you can tell by the title, the Phillies continue to Philly. From what I've been gathering of this team, you get one of two things. You're going to get a team that's going to put up 15 runs. You're going to get a team that puts up nothing. We saw that in their doubleheader yesterday. Put up 7 runs in game 1. Game 2, they come out and they only get 1 hit. Thankfully, Brandon Marsh saved the day on that one. We're not talking about a no-hitter today, but really shows you the type of team the Phillies are. But let's get into, honestly, the guy of the season so far. So far, he's the MVP of the team. Bryson Stott, man, he's a record setter. With his hit in game 1 yesterday, he had a 17-game hitting streak, which set the franchise record for most hits to start a season. Unfortunately, that streak came to an end later that day in game 2. But 17 straight hits for the second-year second baseman. Absolutely incredible for him. There's a lot of doubters for Stott heading into this season. Many people were unsure if he was going to make that jump. He struggled a lot in year 1, especially pretty much the playoffs. He had some big at-bats. I remember game 3. The NLDS against Atlanta had the first RBI that got that big third inning rolling for the Phillies. Was kind of MIA for a lot of throughout the rest of the playoffs. Didn't have any crazy big at bats against the Astros in the World Series, but year 2, man, he looks like a veteran second baseman right there. Defensively, it's his first full season at second base. Obviously, with Trey Turner joining the club. He looks like a veteran second baseman. He's defensively been locked in. Not really major glaring mistakes that we've seen defensively from this team in previous years. But so far, defensively, he looks solid at second. Haven't had that, lockdown, solid franchise second baseman since Chase Utley left. So far, 18 games in the season, Bryson Stott's the guy of the future. Offensively, he seems just so much more confident. I'm in the box, kind of looking at his stance. Last year, he was much wider. Back is what's it gonna be? His right leg because he's lefty. Right leg's out a little bit further. Elbow kind of dropped a little bit. Now he's really crunched in his stance. Elbows up a little bit more. Obviously, Kevin Long and him have worked a lot, throughout the spring and early parts of the season, and it's been absolutely phenomenal so far. We got any text messages? Nothing important. But Stott's been absolutely locked down for me this season. He's been the MVP. We're talking about, the obviously addition of Trey Turner was a big one. But so far, 18 games in the season, without question, Bryson Stott's the MVP of this team. A couple of weeks ago, I said Bryson Stott looks like a perennial Silver Slugger caliber player. He's going to win multiple Silver Sluggers in his career. I'm just going to go out and say it. The way he's hitting and just how much I continue to think he's going to progress in his career, he seems like a multiple-time batting champion. And honestly, the way he's going, he could be a batting champ this year. So, it's something that Phillies kind of lacked the last few years is having a consistent batter. Obviously, we've had Harper, who's a big-time power hitter, strikes out a lot. Schwarber's going to strike out a lot, just the type of players they are. But having a guy that can consistently get on base, consistently hit the ball with solid, good contact, I absolutely love Stott right now. I think he's going to have a very long career. And very happy he's actually on our team. It's weird that, the Phillies farm system's providing something. We'll get a little bit into more of the minor leagues in shortly. But let's kind of get more into just Bryson Stott. And, throughout the playoffs last year, we kind of saw him hit in that seventh a hole a little bit. There's a game or so where he hit eighth. I know game or so in the NLDS, he pitched bat ninth. I was kind of hesitant at first seeing him at the leadoff spot. I thought that was Turner's spot at one. He's like a definition of a, definition of that. I know leadoff guy, super speedy, can get on base, makes good contact. However, the more I'm watching, I love Stott at the leadoff position, and kind of Turner's bat. Last year when he was with the Dodgers, batted third a lot. So Stott at leadoff, I think is going to be a really good move going forward. He's not a power hitter. He's not going to hit 40 home runs like Schwarber did last year leading off. He's probably not even going to hit 20. Honestly, if he hits 20, that's a great season, I think, for him. But big thing is he gets on base. He has really good speed. He's been aggressive on the base path. Get him on first. He can steal second. Turner has a good enough power. He can get a solid double, which can score Stott. I think we're going to start to see that a little bit more. And we already know Turner's speed. So put Turner at second. Get a guy like JT Schwarber at third, batting third. Even Bomer. Bomer's been hitting the ball solid. I think you see that consistent lineup. I think we're going to start seeing that a lot more. But the big thing is I think keeping Stott at leadoff. I don't think we'll see the same production if we put Turner at leadoff. But I like Bryson Stott right now, batting leadoff for the club. He's been absolutely lights out. Literally he's a record-setting second baseman so far. And 40, 50 years, when that trivia question, who has most hits for a Philly to start the season, answer is gonna be Bryson Stott. So, he's only in his second season, and he looks like a veteran guy out there. So I absolutely like Bryson Stott right now. Let's keep going down the lineups. Other people that have been worth noting. Trey Turner. I don't have the tweet up in front of me, but I saw a tweet that the Trey Turner signing, 11 years, $330 million, was a ripoff. Because so far in his year, he hasn't lived up to that contract. First of all, I know I keep saying it's early for the Phillies. It's early in this contract for Turner and the Phillies. Should we also mention Bryce Harper started his Phillies career 0-7 with 1 run? Pretty sure Phillies right now are saying he's doing a great job for his contract, even though he's battled with a couple injuries here and there. Turner's still doing the same way. Most Philly fans, who are just joining along for this early part in the season and not showing up, in October, September like last year. And they're like, oh, we got Trey Turner. And then they see him in the World Baseball Classic, 5 home runs, clear MVP for Team USA. Trey Turner is not the guy who's going to consistently hit the ball out of the park. He's not going to have 40, 50 home runs, 30 home runs in a season like other guys on the team like Schwarber, Castellanos, Harper, Hoskins, other guys like that. But Turner's been such a great player to have. We finally have a speedy guy that can kill you on the base pass. We haven't had that since Jimmy Rollins or Shane Victorino. So we have that big throw on the base pass. I remember a couple games throughout the season where, Turner's on first and a Schwarber double scores him all the way from first. That's not the type of production we've seen from a player on the Phillies in a long time. So now we finally have that speedy shortstop. We have pretty decent defender. Yeah, he hasn't been hitting, 5 home runs like he has in the World Baseball Classic. Let's see, we'll bring up some of his stats though, but he's still been a very solid player to have on the team right now. And let's see what we got right now for Phillies. Batting 303, on base percentage is 361, slugging percentage 382, 23 hits, which is going to be tied for second on the team with Alec Boehm, just behind Bryson Stott, obviously. 2 doubles, 2 triples, big thing. So second on the team in triples, but 4 RBIs, 29 total bases. He's drew 7 walks, which is going to be one of the, he's third on the team in walks, right behind Castellanos and Schwarber. He struck out a lot. No, no. Yeah, he struck out a decent amount, struck out 17 times, has 3 stolen bases, which is tied for first with Bryson Stott and Jake Cave. But he's getting on base, which is the big one. Now, we'll get into kind of the Phillies and their hitting a little bit, but Turner, I think it's still early in his contract. Has he lived up to $330 million? No, but we're also only less than 20 games into the season right now. I remember Philly fans were booing Harper after the first game when he went over 4 with. But right now, I think Turner is still solid. I think it's going to take one game for Turner. I think, he's going to have one monster game for the team, and the team's slow right now. The team's still obviously starting slow, but I like Turner in this 2-hole right now for the team. I think get Stott on first. He's been aggressive on the base pass. Turner is speedy on the base pass. So I like Turner at 2. Schwarber's been hitting phenomenal. We're not seeing him play much in the field right now. Leads the team in home runs with 4. That he's going to be our power hitter until Harper can return to this lineup. And I think he's not. I think the production is still going to be there. I think, not putting him in the field every single day like we had to last year is going to help benefit him in the long run. I think playing in the field is going to tire him out just a little bit more. Now, I think he's got a type of guy that, he steps up in the bottom of the ninth, the Phillies tied, Phillies down. He's the guy you're going to want up because I think he's going to get that production. It's still a little bit early for him. He obviously played in the World Baseball Classic and was solid. So I think it's just a little bit of, trying to get adjusted back into the MLB schedule a little bit more for him. So he's a guy I like. Castellanos for me has been so much better than what we saw in the playoffs last year. Throughout the playoffs, obviously some big hits, but his discipline in the plate was atrocious. I don't think I ever saw a close pitch on the first pitch that he took. Now, if the ball was 20 feet over his head, way offside the plate, yeah, he took the pitch, but his plate discipline has been phenomenal and has benefited him so much. Leads the team in doubles, big game after big game, honestly. So far, if there's a comeback most improved player on this team, probably still Bryson Stott, but Nick Castellanos is that dark horse for most improved player on this team. Even defensively, I've liked what I've seen from him. But so far, most improved player, honestly, you probably make the jump that he overtook Stott for that. Who else we got? JT, not anything crazy out of him. He's had some big games here and there. Defensively, I haven't been overly thrilled. There's a couple of times where I think he's gotten a bad start on, trying to get the guy off at second. He's still the best catcher defensively, but there have been a few scenarios where I've been a little bit concerned with him. What else we got? Edmundo Sosa, he's brought over from St. Louis last year as the defensive presence. Offensively, he's been absolutely incredible. Truthfully, should be starting at third every day. Put Bomer at first, but I love Sosa, what he's been doing. I think for the time being, he should be an everyday player. He really completes the infield, really good defensively, and right now he's a consistent bat. If he was batting, under 200, under 100, I would be a little bit more hesitant. But right now, I think Sosa should be playing every day. And looking at some of the lineups Rob Thompson's put out in the last couple games, he's starting to get way more action, and I really think that's going to be benefit him in the long run. Another guy, utility guy, Josh Harrison. For Christ's sakes, he should not be pitching anymore, but we'll get into the pitching a little bit later. But pitching, I think hitting, he's been really, really good. He's not that same player we saw in Pittsburgh or Minnesota, but he's a really good guy to come off the bench. I trust him a lot in pinch hitting. He's not going to be that 3, 4, 5 hitter anymore. That part of his career is over. But for the time being, if someone goes down and we had to play Harrison every day, it's obviously a bummer. But he's someone I really, really trust. And so far, probably one of the most trustworthy utility guys, bench guys that we have. So I think that was a really good signing. So far, I really, really like him. Alec Bohm, defensively, I was big struggle for him last year. But defensively, regardless if he's at third or first, he's been one of the most reliable defenders we've had on this team. So I really, really like Bomer this season. I think offensively, I said during spring, he was the spring MVP. Even with Trey Turner, he consistently getting on base, didn't have the big flashy hits like Turner or Schwarber, but offensively he's been lights out. He's a guy that you have to circle. The visiting team has to circle on their lineup because he's not an easy out. He has the ability to hit the ball out. He has the ability to hit a double, hit a strong single. So I like what Bomer's been doing this year. Let's go to some other guys that. Oh, I've one other big one. Currently fourth in the MLB in batting average. The savior for not getting no hit yesterday, Brandon Marsh. I remember when we first signed him, we were getting a role player, defensively, gold glove caliber player, and so far this year, gold glove caliber player. I love that he's only 24, 25. He's gonna be long term. I think the future long term center fielder for the Phillies. I just love what he brings defensively. If I knew offensively, we were just unsure of what we were gonna get out of him. But offensively, he's been incredible. He's playing like he's a veteran center fielder. He's playing like a silver slugger. Leads the tie for the team in triples. One of the top 5 in all of Major League Baseball in batting average. I don't believe he has a home run yet. I think he's a few home runs in this year. We got 2 home runs right now. He's batting .358, on base percentage is .414, slugging percentage .668. Absolutely incredible. OPS 1.112, leads the team in that, leads the team in slugging percentage. He leads the team in second in batting average, right behind Bryson Stott. But he's been absolutely phenomenal hitting. Defensively, he's still a lockdown defender. Christian Pache, another really really good defender. Offensively, he's just MIA. He's an easy out. There's no other way to put it. I wouldn't trust him to. If we have bases loaded, tie game, 2 outs, you can just chalk it up. We're going to the next inning. He's an awful hitter. I'm hoping more work with Kevin Long. Even though Brandon Marsh wasn't an easy out, he had some really big hits. He was a pretty shaky hitter. He's batting less than 200. I'm hoping some work with Kevin Long could benefit his game in the long run. But right now, he should only be a defensive guy. That's to be like a 9th inning. We need a solid fielder. Take Castellanos out, put Pache in. Take Jake Cave out, put Pache in. Something like that. I don't want to see him get up to bat just because it's going to be an easy out for us. But for some reason, Pache is getting just consistent hits, consistent at bats. My guess is because I think Marsh is still not fully recovered from an ankle injury. I think he's playing through a little bit of pain, not enough pain to put him on the IL. We can't really afford to put him on the IL right now. But I hate Pache offensively. I think he's just an easy out. I'd rather not even have the other pitcher throw any pitches, just get to the next batter. Jake Cave, nothing crazy out of him, batting .205 right now. 9 hits on the year, 44 at bats. 1 home run. From where he started to where he is now, I think he's improved a little bit. My guess is once Harper returns, he's going to be the first one sent down, just because defensively he's not great. If you're going to compare Pache and Jake Cave, when Harper comes back, I'd rather keep Pache up just because defensively he's going to be a much better fielder, and Harper won't be able to play the field right away. So I think Cave will probably be sent down. Keep Pache up in the MLB just for his defensive plays. And hopefully a little bit more work with Kevin Long, and Pache is batting above at least around the 200 mark. But other guys on the team, Cody Clemens, MIA, hitting wise, defensively, nothing crazy right there. He seems like he's more of someone needs rest, we're going to throw him in there type of thing. It just sucks that it seems like every game, someone else is taking rest. Nothing, not what I want to see. Ooh, a pen. Nothing I really want to see right now, but so far that's hitting wise. But let's get into another major issue with the team, and that's going to be pitching. So 2 pitchers I want to kind of hit on, and they're probably not 2 of the pitchers that we were expecting to talk this year. Matt Strahm and Bailey Falter. Strahm obviously got his. Let's see how bad he did. Pretty awful in his last game against the Reds. But people are quick to say, "Oh, Strahm is he's overrated. He's not good. Yada yada." Made those comments the other day. But people seem to forget his first 2 games. Game 1 of the season completely locks down the Yankees offense. An offense that had Giancarlo Stanton and a guy named Aaron Judge on their team. Completely locks down the Yankees lineup. Game 2 against the Reds, he was same thing, gets back on the mound, lights out. Obviously, Game 3, they were a little bit more ready for him. But Matt Strahm so far was absolutely phenomenal so far this year. He's definitely a reliable guy. He's going to have one bad start. That was a gimme. He wasn't going to go 25-0. Unbelievable. But, one bad start isn't going to be bad. He still has a 2.23 ERA. If I bring him up. Yeah. 2.13 ERA, 16 strikeouts, only 5 walks. He's only given up 3 runs, 7 hits. In 3 starts, he's only given up 7 hits. Gotta say, that's really impressive since there's other guys in this rotation that have given up 7 hits in an inning. He's only given up 7 hits in 3 games. Another guy, actually, I think pitched phenomenally. He got the loss last night, but Bailey Falter pitched phenomenally last night. Yeah, 3-run home run in the first was all the White Sox needed. 1 bad pitch. But let's bring up what he did last night. See if I can bring it up real quick. And it sucks because his record doesn't indicate how well he's actually kind of doing, especially last night. So he went 7 innings, 3 hits, 3 earned runs, 3 strikeouts. I'm not sure about you, but looking at the rest of the Phillies pitching staff, if that's what we're going to get at a consistent basis out of our pitchers, our team would be so much better. Unfortunately, the bats just went cold. White Sox had a very solid pitcher on the mound last night. But the fact that he's only given up 3 earned runs and got that loss last night, he shouldn't have been deserved that loss. Now, it sucks about the Phillies offense is the type of offense they are. They're going to go cold. There's going to be many games where they just get shut out. Unfortunately, it seems that when Phillies get shut out, their pitcher does absolutely phenomenal. And when the Phillies bats are lights out or insane, the pitcher sucks. So we got to find a middle ground, obviously. But Bailey Falter, even though they got the loss, had a rough first inning, still goes 7 innings, go 6 of those innings, no earned runs, 3 strikeouts. And the crazy thing is less than 90 pitches. Sorry, less than 100. 98 total pitches in 7 innings. Sucks that he's 0 for 3 because he's not pitching like it. Unfortunately, the Phillies offense only gets going when Nola and Wheeler are pitching. And so far, they've been pretty mediocre this season. But, when Matt Strahm and Bailey Falter have it going, the offense decides to go a little bit cold right now. So far, the pitching overall has been pretty mediocre. Pretty bad, to be honest. But the one thing I'm noticing with the team is they can't pitch out of jams. It seems like Wheeler was solid with the exception of that 4th inning yesterday where he gave up 4 runs. Every other inning was back to what we kind of saw. Really good high velocity, really hard to pitch, not giving up many hits, a lot of strikeouts. But as soon as he gets a runner on, has to go from the stretch, it's almost like he's a different pitcher. It's almost like, he's forgotten how to be that clutch guy. And it's not just him. I'm seeing with Nola. We saw it on opening day. That first 3 innings, he was perfect through 3 innings. 4th inning, gives up 2 hits, and all of a sudden it's completely downhill. And it's been like that every start with Nola. Taijuan Walker's been that. He goes 3-4 innings, solid work, maybe 1 or 2 runs, and then a slight jam, and the offense is sorry, my bad. The offense is just gone. So I'm curious, like what could it be? I'm starting to think it's the pitch clock with these guys. They've not adjusted to the pitch clock. They seemed way rushed. And it's not just the starters. The bullpen's the same way. When we got to go to the bullpen and there's 2 men on, you're counting on your bullpen to get out of the jam. The bullpen can't get out of a jam. Now, if they walk into a situation where they have no runners on, it's a brand new inning. You get like guys like Craig Kimbrell, Gregory Soto, who else we got? Connor Brogdon, Andrew Bellotti. They're solid relievers when no one's on. But if they come into a situation where bases are loaded, 2 men on, 1 man on, whatever it may be, you can almost guarantee they're going to give up at least 2 or 3 runs. And it's not the type of thing we want to see out of our relievers. So we have 2 different pitching going on right now. We have pitching when there's no jam on, and they look like they were in the playoffs last year. And we have pitching when they're in a slight jam. And when they're in a slight jam, it's game over for the club. So, looking at some of the stats for pitching, this is the part that's kind of crazy for me. So let's see. ERA. Where is it? ERA for the Phillies pitching is 26 in the MLB. Only Detroit, Colorado, the White Sox, and the Athletics have a worse ERA. Strikeouts. 14. We're striking out a lot of guys. However, wait for it. We've given up a boatload of hits. 157. That's tied for 9th with the Guardians in hits. We'll get into some of the batting stats I want to get into in a second, but I was going to talk about the Phillies pitching. I think the big thing is they need to adjust to the pitch clock. Wheeler's always been the guy that he takes his time throwing pitches. He's not the type of guy to get the ball, immediately get back on the mound, and throw another ball. He always takes his time. He is not adjusted to the pitch clock, and it's shown. He can adjust for the first couple innings, then as soon as he gets an ounce of pressure on him, he crumbles. So I think the Phillies, they really need to adjust a lot more to the pitch clock within this club. So that's kind of the pitching woes for this team. They need to figure out pitching because hitting wise, batting average. First in Major League Baseball in batting average. Sorry, tied for first with the Tampa Bay Rays. Hits. First in the MLB alone at 183. Tampa's second with 176. Now, this is where we get a little bit more difficult. Strikeouts. Second in Major League Baseball with most struck out team. Only the San Francisco Giants have more. They have 174 strikeouts this season. Now, on base percentage, another one I want to point out. 6th. We can get guys on base. However, hitting with runners on has been absolutely atrocious for this club. So many opportunities, we could have won games if we just hit the ball with a runner on base. I don't have the stat in front of me, but it seems I can only imagine if our runners hitting with runners in scoring position, runners on base, how bad it would have been, how bad it is. Probably one of the worst bottom third in Major League Baseball. How bad hitting with runners on base has been for the team. And the big thing is we need to have runners on base because when Harper returns, he's going to be able to get a lot more RBIs. So there's the big issue you have with hitting. We cannot hit the ball with runners on base. RBIs. Let's see where we're at. RBIs. 17th in baseball with 79 RBIs. Now, I talked about batting average and hits. There's one team that I said was consistently first, tied with us, or second. And that was the Tampa Bay Rays. Guess who has the most RBIs in baseball? By 20, they have 26 more RBIs than the other team right below them, the Texas Rangers. Imagine the amount of games we could have won this year if we just hit the ball with runners in scoring position. Not even running scoring position, with runners on. We lost to the Rangers by 1. We lost to the Yankees by 2. Lost to the Reds by 2. Lost to the Marlins by 4, by 1. Lost to the White Sox yesterday. Now, we couldn't hit the ball the whole game. But there's been a lot of games that have been winnable games for the Phillies. Let's just look at it right now. We got 1 win, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games. All could have been winnable games if we hit the ball with runners on base. So I'm not sure what the Phillies' issue is. Have they not adjusted to the pitch clock? It's much, even though it's a big rule for the pitchers to throw the ball in a certain time, batters got to be ready too. So maybe they haven't adjusted to the pitch clock with runners on, because it's an adjusted pitch clock when the pitcher has to go from the stretch. So those are two major issues I'm seeing with the Phillies right now. Can't hit the ball with runners on. Need to start scoring hitting some RBIs. If we don't hit RBIs, we're gonna not win many baseball games. I bet you we start hitting RBIs. We have as many RBIs as the Rays, even just a little bit less than the Rays. I bet you we have above 500 baseball team. I bet you this baseball team's not 7 games back of the Braves. And I'm not sure why everyone's freaking out. Oh, we're already 7 games back of the Braves. Are people seeming to forget how good the Braves are? Braves are still a very good baseball team. Braves are still more than likely going to win this division. They're 14-4 on the year. You can just go down their pitching staff: Spencer Strider, Max Fried. Offensively, they still got Travis d'Arnaud, Matt Olson, Ronald Acuna Jr., Ozzie Albies. Team's really, really good. Much better than the Phillies right now. So the fact that we're 7 games back, but in reality, the team we need to be focused on, we're only 4 games back of the Mets right now, 1 game back of the Marlins. We're going to be a wild card team this year, especially with all these injuries. But no one's going to be topping the Braves this year. We got to focus our attention to the Braves in the playoffs. Now, I know Phillies fans who are just joining along for this, haven't joined along this early in the season, are like, well, we beat the Braves last year. We have a team that's built for the postseason. We have a team that's really solid right now, especially we have a brand new team. A lot of new pieces on this team. A lot of pieces missing from this team. We're still early in the season. And people like that, we want Rob Thompson gone. He's awful. If you can't give me 3 reasons why, other than he has inconsistent lineups, your point's going to be invalid to me. But here are the major issues I'm seeing with the Phillies. They fix these issues, I think we'll start seeing a much different ball club. We need more RBIs. We need more hitting with runners on base. We can get on base. That's not been a problem. We can hit the ball. Not been a problem. No one better in baseball than us than hitting the baseball. We just got to start hitting with players on base. And that's when we need kind of guys like Trey Turner to kind of step up a little bit more. Guys like Alec Bohm to start hitting up a little bit more. Castellanos. We need the top half of that lineup. We've already seen the bottom half of that lineup on certain days they're going to be MIA. But we got to need to see Josh Harrison to have a tad bit more consistency. He has some really good games, don't get me wrong. But we need to see more of those consistent games. Christian Passion needs to learn to put barrel on the bat. Garrett Stubbs, I think, needs to be more of a presence when he fills in for JT Realmuto. JT's not going to be the same guy he was last year where he catches the most games in baseball. Long term, that's not going to be good for his career. So we're going to see him take maybe a few more, off days catching wise. So that means Garrett Stubbs is going to need to step up a little bit more. See a little bit more production out of him. Brandon Marsh has been pretty solid, but same thing. That, no out double in the top of the 8th would have been great with at least a runner or 2 on. Start drawing some more walks. Lay off some pitches. I know guys like Castellanos, Schwarber, Bohm, they want to be aggressive. They want to hit the ball. They want to hit the ball out. However, sometimes drawing that walk is solid. Let's see where they are with walks this year. Where are we doing walk-wise? Oh, we're far down. 21st in walks. I don't know the stat off the top of my head or if they're even available, but just how many balls have the Phillies taken? I don't feel it's a lot. Definitely, I remember the playoffs last year, it wasn't a lot. But there's a lot of times where the Phillies have been a little too over aggressive at the plate. Take your time at the plate, get on base, and we'll start hitting the ball a little bit more. Swing at the right pitches. We don't need to swing at every pitch, but we need to swing at the right pitches. So Hitting wise, I think that's something we need to focus on. We need to start hitting with runners on. We need to capitalize with runners on base. Biggest weakness right now offensively. Obviously, other guys, individual guys need to fix certain things, but offensively, big one. Pitching wise, pitch clock. Start adjusting the pitch clock. Please work on getting out of jams. So right now, Phillies can't get out of a jam. If there's an ounce of pressure on them, they're going to crumble. Fortunately, they haven't blown any saves. Craig Kimbrell has tried, haven't blown any saves. Jose Alvarado has been phenomenal. He can't go every day. Sir Anthony is, I think, keep an eye on Sir Anthony. I think he might actually get the Jose Alvarado treatment like he did last year and get sent down to Lehigh Valley in AAA for about a month. Actually kind of settle down a little bit, work out some mechanics. Then he comes back up. We obviously know all the things he's been capable of. He's been super shaky. I would like to see him actually be sent down to AAA. Maybe bring a guy like Trey Cobb up. A couple other guys will get into the Max Miners report a little bit later. But once we get, Ranger Suarez back, Christopher Sanchez back, Sir Anthony could be a good guy to send down for a couple games. Let him relax a little bit, work out some mechanical issues, work out some velocity issues, and bring him back up. We saw with Jose Alvarado last year. Being sent down to AAA was the best thing for that man because he's come back this year, and he's been the best reliever in not just the Phillies, but one of the best relievers in all of baseball. So I like that idea of sending Sir Anthony down to AAA. But other things the Phillies need to kind of do is we need to settle down. They need to relax. They need to get worked out of these jams because as soon as we get a slight jam, you can count that the other team's going to put 3 or 4 runs in a single inning. And that's cost us games. It cost us the game on opening day when Aaron Nola could not work out of a jam and just started throwing worse and worse and worse pitches. Matt Stram did it against the Reds. Worse and worse pitches. Settle down. Relax. Tranquilo. Just relax, Poppy. So I like to see that out of the Phillies a little bit more, the pitching. They've shown a lot of promise. Aaron Nola, he's shown a lot of promise. He's still not that ace. He's still consistent at being inconsistent, as our boy Chip said. But let's get into some injury news for the Phillies. Some good news, actually. Bryce Harper took live batting practice in a simulated game off of Ranger Suarez prior to the Phillies' game 1 against the White Sox yesterday. Looking at just how Harper's progression, seeing what some of the coaches have said, what Rob Thompson has said, I think we'll see Harper back in the next 2 weeks. I would say give himself next 3 to 4 weeks. I think we'll see Bryce Harper back. I know May 4th, 5th, and 6th. Don't quote me on those dates, but whenever Boston comes into town, it'd be a good home series for Harper to return. They're still not quite sure if he might skip his rehab assignments in AAA. But so far he looks to be in mid-season form. He's been able to hit the ball really well. He got cleared to slide, which is a big hold up for him. He's still not ready to hit the field quite yet, but adding that bat back into the lineup, I think would be a huge, huge boost for the team. He's been a guy that can get on base, hit with players scoring position. I think a big frustration I saw last in the playoffs with him was how many solo home runs he had. Obviously, he had the big one in Game 5 of the NLDS with JT on, but a lot of his other hits, he didn't have runners on. We're in a situation now where Stott's been getting on base, Turner's getting on base, whoever decides to bat third, if it's Schwarber, JT. We're seeing a lot of different guys bat third, but putting Harper at 4th, even put Harper at 3rd, I would like that because Stott's been getting on the base. A home run, a solid double with Stott or Turner's speed on the bags, that's going to be an easy RBI right there. So I think once Harper's back, we'll see a lot more RBIs from him. And I think it should be a big boost. Other big guy, Ranger Suarez, he pitched solid again in his simulated game against Harper. They're not rushing him back. I know Philly fans want him rushed back, but he's been a guy that he's been a big boost to that pitching rotation, and he's a guy that can give you 5-6 really, really strong innings. So, as much as we want to see him getting back in that rotation, I'm okay if he's not back on the rotation until mid-May. But hey, we haven't heard much news about him, so he could be back earlier rather than later. Haven't heard much word from the Iron Pigs if he's going to be doing a rehab start. But another guy that's been doing a couple rehab starts down with the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs has been Christopher Sanchez. Solid, could be a solid starter pitcher. Could replace Ranger Suarez in the rotation for the time being. He's pitched in 2 rehab games. He has an ERA of 1.04, struck out 11 in 2 games. He's been really, really good. Hasn't gone more than 4 innings in either of those starts. So 8 innings, 11 strikeouts, 1.04 ERA. He's been really, really good in his rehab assignments. From what I gathered from the Iron Pigs is he can probably do one more start. Depending on how he feels after that, he'll get called back up to the majors. If he's still not fully ready to go, he might go do 2 more. But, Christopher Sanchez should be returning to the rotation very, very soon. And that's going to be a big boost for the Phillies. Could maybe move Buddy Falter back to the bullpen, which I think he'll benefit a lot. I think he's a really good, solid 2 to 3 inning guy. I don't think he's quite ready to be an every 5-day starter for the Phillies quite yet. But I think Bailey Falter, especially what we saw out of him yesterday, he's definitely a guy who needs to stay up in the MLB. I just don't think he's quite ready to be a starter. But adding Christopher Sanchez back into the mix will be a big boost for Phillies pitching, and he's pitched phenomenal. But let's get into a new segment that I have now created, and I don't have a graphic for it yet, and my boy Johnny will do it because he's the greatest person ever. Max Minor Report. So if you aren't aware, I'm a reporter for the Iron Pigs and keep up with all the Phillies minor league teams. So every once in a while, try every few weeks, I'll post a Max Minor Report. Talk about all the kind of top prospects in Phillies baseball from Clearwater Thrashers and Single A, Reading Fighting Phils in Double A, and the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs in Triple A. Just give an update of what's going on. If you're like me right now, you're kind of frustrated with watching, the MLB team, and you're wondering who can we call up to fix our problems. I'll be your guy throughout the season. So let's just get right into it. Let's start down in Single A. Some of the young guys. Justin Crawford, number 5 prospect, batting .278, OPS 297, on base percentage 361. Leads the team in RBIs with 5. He's only 19. Son of obviously Carl Crawford, former Tampa Bay Devil Ray and Boston Red Sox. He's been probably the most consistent hitter. Gabriel Rincones, the number 7 prospect, batting .207. He's had a home run. He's really aggressive on the base pass. 6 stolen bases in 10 games. Only been caught stealing once. So he's been a really solid player to have down there. And out pitching wise, Alex McFarland, the Phillies number 8 prospect. He's appeared in just 2 games so far this season, and has added about 10 strikeouts while only giving up 3 runs. Unfortunately, when he's pitched, the offense has kind of failed to get going. So he suffered the loss in both those games. But, so far he's been absolutely high velocity. He's striking people out, which is really, really important and big for the team, something that they're struggling to do. Fortunately, the offense hasn't got going for him. If that sounds familiar, just watch the actual Philadelphia Phillies. All right, the Red and Fighting Phils. I got a lot here. Let's start with the number 1 prospect in the Phillies organization, Andrew Painter. Everyone who doesn't really know much about the Phillies are wanting Andrew Painter to be called up. I think prior to him getting hurt, there was a strong possibility he could have been making his appearance at some point this season. Unfortunately, towards the back end of spring training, he suffered a UCL injury in his throwing arm, so he's been rehabbing that. I got word from the Phillies that he has been increasing the distance on his long toss, hasn't thrown a bullpen session yet, but they're taking it slow. He's only 19. He's been ripping up the minor leagues. Last year, he was the minor league pitcher of the year and across all of baseball. So, he's still a young guy. And I know the Philly fans, they want to see him called up. He didn't look great against MLB caliber talent throughout spring training. Good, but nothing what we were expecting out of him. I really don't want to rush an injury, especially a UCL injury. It's obviously not a Tommy John caliber surgery injury, but the last thing I want to do is get a really great prospect like we have, and we rush him back from an injury and makes it worse than it is. So I'm okay with them being patient. I did get that whenever he's ready to return, they're going to keep him in Double A for a start or two, see how he kind of does. If he improves, they'll move him up to Triple A. So no word if he continues to progress, if we'll see him up at Citizens Bank Park this season. But he has been making progress. This was kind of the timetable. I remember we got shut down mid-March. They said he wasn't going to throw until mid-April. So we're right around that mid-April point, and he's starting to throw. He's increasing his long toss distance. So good news for Andrew Painter. Excuse me. Good news for Andrew Painter. Good news for the Phillies. And it's a good start for the team. Phillies number 2 prospect, another pitcher, Mick Abel. Slow start. First start of the year for the Fighting Phils. He wasn't able to get out of the first inning. 4 walks in two-thirds of an inning. He's 0 for 1 with 5.79 ERA, 6 strikeouts, 6 walks. That second start is much, much better. Only 2 more walks and 5 strikeouts. Still got the no decision. He pitched very well, I expected for a 20-year-old in spring training. He obviously was his first time up in Major League camp this year. Got a few starts for the club in some spring training games, but nothing exciting. He's kind of in the shadow a little bit of Andrew Painter. I know there's less hope that he was going to make it up to the MLB than Painter. He's off to a very, very slow start, so the way he's playing right now, it's only going to be if we drastically need him, I think, at this point. But so far, start 1 was awful. Start 2 was much better. Not great. Nothing exciting. Nothing to be excited for him to be called up for. Still a very big work in progress. However, I think in the next year or so, he could be an everyday starter rotation for the Phillies. But right now, I think he's doing solid down in Double A. So let's get to some other guys in Double A. Carlos De La Cruz, the Phillies number 9 prospect, has been the hottest hitter for the club. In 10 games, he has a slash line of 308, 372, 590. Leads the team with 3 home runs and also has added 12 RBIs onto the club. Fighting Phils have been absolutely awful. They're 3 for 7 on the year. De La Cruz, even though he's the best hitter, nothing overly exciting back from him. But I think he's a guy that could be called up to AAA maybe in the next few weeks. But looking at AAA, going to the Iron Pig games, isn't much room for him on that roster right now. So I kind of want to see him progress just a little bit more out down in Reading, down in Double A, and see where they can take him. And then Johan Rojas, Phillies number 6 prospect, slash line of 275, 341, 375. Second on the team with hits with 11. He's also added in 4 RBIs. He's also been battling a few injuries. He was not fully healthy throughout spring, so he's still recovering a little bit from injuries. I think when he's fully back, he's going to start to hit the ball a lot better, and he's still doing very well. So De La Cruz, Rojas are 2 guys offensively who I think we need to start keeping an eye out down in Reading. I hate to say it. Those are 2 guys you also need to keep an eye out for trades. If the Phillies are going to go all in again, there are going to be 2 guys that teams are going to be calling about. They want De La Cruz. They want Rojas. Not sure. I haven't heard any chatter from anybody, but just kind of seeing how the Phillies do that. Dombrowski's been known to destroy the farm system for teams in order to win championships. So De La Cruz and Rojas could be 2 guys. But so far right now, they've been consistent hitters, 2 of the more productive hitters for the club. Like most of the Phillies clubs, they've been super hot offensively from time to time. They've been no different, but so far what I've seen from them. And all right, Lehigh Valley, they started off 3-0. I was like, dude, this team's actually solid. And then they've gone 2-10 in the last 12 games. Pitching, their best pitcher has been McKinley Moore. On paper, he's the Phillies number 20 prospect. Obviously got called up to the Phillies club. Made his MLB debut for a few games. Nothing special. Struggled a lot. Clearly not ready. Can give you a good inning, maybe, but he's been sent back down to AAA. Hasn't made his Iron Pigs debut yet. Hasn't made that debut with the Pigs yet since he's been up with the Phillies. I assume this series now with the Wo Sox that he'll probably make that debut soon. Another guy, Trey Cobb. He's been really, really good, solid for his 29, so he's gonna be a little bit of an older rookie if he does get called up. But I really like to see stuff from him. Marte, Philly fans know he pitched 1 game or 2 games, I guess. And was absolutely abysmal in both those starts. Goes down to AAA, he's actually been lights out. He has less than 1 ERA, boatload of strikeouts, not many hits. I've really liked what I've seen out of him, but we already know what he's going to do up in the MLB. I think it's only if someone gets hurt, we'll see him get called back up. And even in those situations, I don't want to see him called back up. I like what he's been doing down in AAA. He still needs a little bit more work down there. Maybe a late season addition if he gets his act together. Maybe like Jose Alvarado gets his act together and is able to join that MLB bullpen, but nothing crazy. Like I mentioned earlier, Christopher Sanchez has been down AAA for the Pigs, and he's been the most consistent pitcher. Pitching's been a big issue for the Iron Pigs for every game I've watched. James McArthur's like this, no consistent pitching. All the top pitching prospects are in AA and single A right now. So it's gonna be a couple years till we get those guys back up into the major league. So we really got to roll with with Wheeler and Nola, Ranger Suarez, Taijuan Walker. Those are guys going to be the core guys for the next couple years. Maybe not Nola since he's a free agent, but offensively, Dalton Guthrie, he's been on the cusp. He made the opening day roster. After opening day, got sent down in favor of Jake Cave. 13 games as a slash line at 311, 436, 511, 511. He's on the 40-man roster, which is a big key fact. Seeing as Jake Cave, Christian Pache, Cody Clemens are all easy outs, Dalton Guthrie's not much worse of a defender as Jake Cave is. I think Dalton Guthrie can be making that jump back up to MLB very, very soon, especially the way he keeps consistently hitting the ball. He's not going to be a power hitter. He's not going to hit the ball out. He's getting on base. He's putting the ball in play. He's hitting the ball with runners on, which has been a big thing. He leads the team in RBIs. Huge, huge, huge. Weird. The Phillies are missing that. So I like Dalton Guthrie. Defensively, he's been solid. He played really well in AAA last year. Maybe something happened. I don't know within that clubhouse. But if he keeps playing the way he's playing, he's going to get called up. And then Simone Muzziotti, if I pronounce that right, he's the Phillies number 10 prospect. He's a slash line of 314, 340, 392. He's been same thing, hitting the ball really, really well. Was called up to the MLB a couple towards the back end of September for the team last year. Nothing crazy. One of the more consistent hitters on the team. Another hitter I want to just mention briefly before we kind of wrap it up, Jordan Cassar. He's a left fielder for the Iron Pigs. Best hitter on the team. Absolutely best hitter on the team. And most importantly, he has 11 RBIs. That's good. Lockdown defender in left field. The way Cassar is hitting the ball and the way Jake Cave is hitting the ball, put Cassar in that game because he's a much better defender and he's been hitting the ball much better. So I'm not sure what they see right now in Jake Cave or Cody Clemens, but the way the guys down in AAA, those big three I just said, Guthrie, Muzziotti, and Cassar, one of them could be getting called up. And if they don't want to go with them, they can go with Vimel Mansion, who's been solid. John Haley's had some great at-bats. Weston Wilson's had some solid at-bats. Phillies legend and Philly fan favorite, Scott the Jetpack Kingery, has been phenomenal down in AAA. He's not part of the 40-man rotation or 40-man roster, but forever he'll be a fan favorite for the Phillies. And he's been playing really, really good down in Lehigh Valley. So keep an eye on a bunch of guys. Phillies have some flexibility with their roster right now. Jake Cave not guaranteed to start. And the big thing is Harper should be returning to this lineup soon. So maybe they're just, there's no reason to bring Guthrie up because we're just going to be sending him back down shortly. If that's the case, makes a lot of sense. I'm totally okay with that. I like Guthrie getting consistent at bats at AAA right now, rather than being kind of moving on the move every 5 days. So if that's the case, Guthrie should stay in AAA. But in case someone goes down, but just thinking about it, Jake Cave and Cody Clemens, both of them on the roster, and Harper's coming back. One of them still has to go. One of them can stay, but we can still move Guthrie. Not sure what Dombrowski and Rod Thompson are thinking right now, but we'll figure it out. But there's a lot of flexibility down in AAA. They're not deep. They don't have a lot of talent, but there are some guys that, have been consistent down there, are solid from single A to double A to AAA. So a lot of the Phillies prospects have been solid this year. So let's just keep it up. But that was Max Miner's report. We'll bring that to you ever so often, but that's kind of all we got for today's show. We'll be back next Tuesday. Hopefully with a pretty special guest. I'll keep that on the down low. Just make sure I work out all the logistics with it. But make sure you tune in to everyone else here at AAT Sports. We got the soccer guys, Phillies, the Eagles. Weekly report is tonight. All that fun stuff. But pleasure as always. Make sure you tune in, subscribe, like, retweet, share, all that fun stuff. Send it to your friends, your family, your grandparents, your neighbors, your enemies, your bosses, all those people. Send it to everybody. But it's a pleasure as always. I'm Adam Mack, host of Phrankly Phillies here at AAT Sports. As we always say,